Hey everyone, it's Road to Retire, and today we have a special video. We're talking about a Business Insider article that's written about me. It's crazy that there's any kind of publications out there about me, but here we are. It's crazy to think that. So I'm going to discuss the article in general. What are some things that didn't make the cut that I feel like are important to add some context to, what it was like, and how I got it in the first place. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get right to it. So just right off the bat, how did I get in Business Insider? The reporter who wrote the article, Madison, reached out to me through email. So I had nothing to do with it. She was in contact with me first, just asked if I was interested in talking about my YouTube channel, my path to early retirement, and how I use side hustles to get there. And I think one of her areas of focus in Business Insider is talking about the side gig economy. So it kind of makes sense why you would talk to a person like me. I just expected someone like me with such a small following on YouTube, in terms of YouTube standards anyway, having 17,000 subs when I did the interview. It blows my mind that someone would reach out to my small channel and get it. But nonetheless, here we are. So let's look at the article and talk about it. So there you go. Here's the article and its heading with my ugly mugshot right there. That's the OG Road to Retire picture, if you can remember that. And that's the face that I used to plaster on all of my old thumbnails before I got a ring light and just blow up my face as it is right now. But a millennial is using side hustles to help meet financial goals and partially retire at 45. Here are the few of the gigs he's had success with. So clearly there's a focus on the side hustles here, and that's the whole point of talking to me in the first place. But I knew that was coming. I saw a lot of her articles mentioned it's like either millennial or Gen Zer, and it makes me feel really young being millennial, even though I'm 32 at this point. But nonetheless, let's move on in the article. All right, so there's pieces that I'm going to read that make sense for me to read out loud and then add some context to it. I'm not going to read out the whole article or anything like that, just because a good chunk of the article is talking about the side hustles that I do directly, and there's no like direct quotes from a lot of that. And just to me, it's just about like what those side hustles entail. But let's read the intro here, and I'll add a little bit of context. So Scott, 32, wants to make the most out of life, which would include not having to work 40 hours a week for the rest of his days. He's a financial analyst who wants to be able to eventually enjoy a paid-off forever home as a family and do what he considers early retirement. And here's a quote from me. I recently got diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease, and I'm just looking at it from a realistic perspective. Scott, whose last name has been verified with BI but left out due to privacy reasons, says, it makes more sense for me just to try and live out my life as much as possible. So a little bit of context I would like to add here. I said how like I have an accounting background, and like I live in a black and white world where it's just like you got to look at things from a realistic perspective, as I said here. But part of that is like, look, polycystic kidney disease, a lot of people don't even know what that is. And it doesn't even sound like a death sentence, because here I am, I'm sitting and working, and it feels like I'm an able-bodied person. But reality is that the life expectancy for someone with polycystic kidney disease is usually in their mid-60s. So I don't want to work all the way till I'm 65 and then I pass away, not being able to enjoy any time with my family away from work. So I just want to add that little bit of context. It's not because like polycystic kidney disease is like a terminal disease where it's like I'm screwed here, but the life expectancy, and who knows, maybe there's therapeutics down the line that can change this, and I'm going to really try and fight it with diet that I'm starting today. Down the line, maybe there'll be a therapeutic, but at the end of the day, realistically, I'm 6'5", polycystic kidney disease. I don't know how long I am for this earth. That's just the truth of the matter. It's just the hand I'm dealt with. So here we are dealing with it. And this is my solution, is to try and do a part-time early retirement, as we'll get into a second. So just want to add some context there. I will continue on here. Definition of early retirement doesn't mean not working, just lessening the hours, reducing hours by the time he's 50 years old, dream age is 45, and fully retire by 60s. That's completely accurate to what I said. Hoping to go part-time at 45. That's the dream. Realistically, hope before 50 to go part-time. But working on paying off some of the current financial obligations with passive income and side hustles. I was paying off the house completely. Now I'm working on getting my truck paid off because it has a higher interest rate. That's verified. And this is something that I wanted to address here, because if I was reading this article from an outside perspective, I'm like, what kind of idiot says he wants to retire early and then has a truck balance of over $60,000? So if you're familiar with my channel, you kind of already know the answer, but I just want to reiterate here that it's kind of out of necessity, unfortunately, because I am, like I said earlier, I'm 6'5", so there's already limited options here that I have to fit into a car. I have a lot of spine pain along with my polycystic kidney disease pain. So I needed something where I could easily get in and out of. And honestly, the Toyota Tundra that I ended up going with is pretty much the only thing that really fit me well. Now, I could have went with a cheaper used truck. I get that. But my mentality is I want this truck to last like almost the rest of my life, right? I don't want to deal with maintenance of having like a truck that had like 100,000 miles on it or whatever, and then worry about like being extremely careful and not putting as many miles as I want to on it. So in my mind, I'm just like, screw it. I bought a slightly used, it had like 5,500 miles on it. But yes, reading that from an outsider perspective, I'd be like, he's not serious. But here I am. I'm completely paying the truck off using side hustles. There's not a dime coming out of my bank account, but that might change, not to pay off the minimum payments each month, but to try and get this paid off as fast as possible. It says right here that I want to pay it off in a year and a half, and I'm serious about that. And I think with my dedication to side hustles right now, and if I start to budget and just put extra money out of my bank account on top of it, I think a year and a half to pay off the 60K balance is extremely feasible. And I think now if I look at it, I have less than 60,000, and I just got the truck in middle of December. So it's like I only had 2 official payments on it, and the starting balance was 64,600. So I'm already like 5K into it in a matter of 2 months. So this is a very good pace that I'm going at, and I'm really going to aim to pay that truck off within a year and a half. So let's continue on in the article. So from the next section, I'm just going to read the quotes that they have on me. Once a truck's paid off, I'm going to turn my complete attention to the mortgage, try and get the house paid off as soon as humanly possible. If you watch my 5-step plan to retire early, you know that that's exactly what the plan is. So there's no lies detected there. Once it happens, hopefully some of my side hustles, either like an Amazon influencer program or YouTube, will grow, and I'll be able to really attack the early retirement plan, meaning whether it's investing or just saving money in general. Again, this is out of a T of the video that I just did, the 5 steps to retire early, my personal plan. It's almost like I did that video on purpose, knowing this article was going to come out. So a little bit of foreshadowing was happening, but I want to also make sure that I'm consistent with what I preach here on YouTube versus what I'm quoted saying here to a reporter. So we scroll down here more just to my quotes. Said side hustles and even some types of side business is an absolute must if you're hoping to retire early, however you define early retirement. Yeah, so here's the thing with that. Unless you are completely career driven, meaning you are going to climb that corporate ladder or become a manager in your blue collar field, whatever it is, unless you plan to make a ton of money there and then be very frugal with your life and start investing from an early age or whatever, that is not going to be the reality for a lot of people. And you kind of have to find a little gig, a little side business, whatever you want to call it, side job, to try and get that extra money to get you to the place where you want to be if you want to retire early. Now, if I had no plans to retire early, say I was healthy as a fiddle and I was like an average 5'9" height or something, where it's like my life expectancy is to be in the 80s and maybe even 90s, then no, maybe this wouldn't even be a thing. Maybe I would just do my day job, and that's pretty much all I focus on. But the hand that we're dealt here, don't know the life expectancy, doing something like side hustles and whatnot, it's just more beneficial to try and reach my goals. So I say you're not going to make a ton of money quickly. Side hustles typically tend to take a lot more effort to see a pretty penny, and you tend to realize how expensive things are. I think I worded this kind of stupid. The quote is spot on to what I said, and I can remember talking on the phone, interviewing with Madison. I'm just like, that was a dumb way to word it. But pretty much like, if you're doing like, say, surveys, for example, and you're getting like paid $2 to do a 10-minute survey, you quickly realize that like, wow, that $2 buying power doesn't really get you much. And even if you're like investing that $2 or whatever, you start to realize, wow, the world is expensive. And I think doing these side hustles kind of gives you a better appreciation for that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I wanted to word it. And I just worded it pretty stupid here. So there's some context to that quote, but it's just, yeah, it's like you start to realize how hard it is to officially earn $1, especially if you're like me, who has a 8 to 5 career, and you kind of take for granted your salary. When you kind of use side hustles to pay off bills like I'm doing right now with my truck, you start to realize that like, wow, $60,000 for a truck is really ridiculous. And the fact that I have to bust my butt so hard to get there it's insane. So yeah, so there's that. Let's move on down further in the article. So the rest of the article goes on to state the side hustles that I've had success with. And the first one that comes up on YouTube, and I have to read this quote because it's hilarious now looking back just a week ago how drastically things have changed. But YouTube has been the game changer, Scott said. I had no idea that it could pay this well, especially for someone like me who wasn't really anticipating it being a side hustle, and it's quickly turned into the one that I'm focusing on the most. It originally was just to track my progress for how fast I could pay my house off and just keeping myself self-accountable, essentially. So YouTube, at that time when I gave the interview, I was earning anywhere from $55 to $60 a day. Ever since the DAT fiasco, the copyright strike, and if you don't know anything, you can watch the video that I have on that. But ever since that strike, now my earnings, I've had as low as $18. So more than 50% of my earnings have been slashed away ever since that. It just goes to show you, deleting your old popular videos is a very dangerous thing to do on YouTube. But here I am, still putting out content, trying to recover it. It is still, at the end of the day, it's crazy that even if I'm around $20 a day, which I am right now, $600 a month is absolutely great numbers. And again, this is a scalable business. If I keep putting out content and growing it, YouTube has a great shot to make you money passively in the future. And if we scroll down here, Scott posts on his YouTube account with 17K subscribers. I just hit 17K when I did this interview. I talk about ranking side hustles, talking about taxes. He suggests other interested in YouTube try it. He doesn't know what to expect for himself. And he said he started with a low quality webcam and microphone. This is absolutely true. I started with a $25 webcam and a $25 microphone off of Amazon. And I think my webcam reached 720p on a good day, and I didn't have the ring light yet, so the lighting was terrible. You can watch my old videos about like remote task and see how terrible the quality was. And also, I upgraded the mic. I didn't go too expensive with the mic that I have now. It's just like a Yeti Orb, which is only like 50 or 60 bucks, but it's still eons better than the microphone that I had. And then my quote here, worst case scenario, you put yourself out there, you give it your best shot. If you're patient and you keep going at it, people will pick up on authenticity. That's what I go for on this channel. Completely authentic. I'm telling you my life story, having PKD and the complications that have come from that, not only for a shortened lifespan, but also trying to grow a family and having to go through IVF. I'm completely authentic here, because what is the point of going through life if you're not authentic and, being an accountant, seeing the world of black and white? That's just how I run my life. So talking about YouTube, it's drastically lowered for me. However, it's still a big priority, if not the biggest priority, but I am picking up the slack on dataannotation.tech, which we talk about here. And a lot of it here is the quotes here are basically from Data Annotation's site itself. They're not exactly from me, but I have made over $1,000 here. Did they say that? What do we say? What's the quote I actually have? So as long as you are fluent in English and you're a decent creative thinker, then you should be able to apply and get in, assuming you pass the starter assessment. I'm so glad that this got included, because that's an important point, because everyone's trying to get in the DAT nowadays, and either they don't pass the starter assessment or they don't hear back for weeks. So that is a very big caveat that I'm glad got included in the article. But nowadays, I am focusing a lot on DAT on my downtime. So maybe honestly, only 2 weeks ago, I would have been putting all my efforts towards YouTube. But now I'm kind of concerting different efforts to actually putting my nose down, grinding it out, and doing the side hustles that I'm recommending to you people out there. So I'll show you in a later video that how much I've earned on DAT. If you follow my channel and watch my daily shorts, you can see I've been earning a lot on dataannotation.tech recently. So, put my money where my mouth is, get the money where I'm talking out of my mouth, and going through DAT has been awesome for me. So what else does it say about DAT here? Also found the work is consistent, extremely true. Important if you're looking to earn from side hustles. Obviously, you can't earn if there's no work. He has found, though, that this gig has become oversaturated. Completely agree with that. And I have a feeling that's a reason why many people are not hearing back from them as soon as they think they should. That's why I think there's just such a delay from so many people going into it. There's already a lot of workers in from it, and I feel like there is a little bit of oversaturation. But if you are able to get into the platform, many good things could happen. So there is the piece on dataannotation.tech on YouTube. Let's move on here to the surveys. So this is just talking about Prolific and Connect. And as you know, if you're in the online side hustle community and working on survey sites, these two are the only survey sites that I recommend, honestly. And one of the things that I got interviewed on that didn't make it into the article, which is fine, but that's why I'm doing this video, just to give it context, is I got interviewed on which side hustles I've tried that don't really work anymore. And I've talked about like Amazon Mechanical Turk, but one of the other things that I talked about was pretty much every survey site besides Prolific and Connect are garbage. So I want to just give that context here, but there's two quotes here from me that I think are very accurate to how I feel about these. If you have really busy schedules, you're not looking to make a ton of money from side hustles, survey sites are perfect for you. You just have to be really picky and choosy. Again, picky and choosy with the platforms themselves, using something like a Prolific Connect, but also, don't waste your time doing a survey that pays $1 and you have to waste 20 minutes of your life. Make sure you're getting paid at least a minimum of $6 an hour, meaning like if you have a 5-minute survey, make sure you're getting paid at least 50 cents or else it's just not worth your time, and move on. So Prolific and Connect, if you watched this channel before, you know that those are the only two survey sites I recommend. They're the only ones that seem to pay fair at this very moment. I've tried many other survey sites and they're all garbage, or they pay out in gift cards, which I don't really care for. So the other quote that's here is, these are good income boosters, not necessarily going to make you rich, but you can get a few bucks here and there. So that's definitely something that I'm glad got included in the article, because that's what it is, right? It's beer money. It's money if you want to try and pay off your cell phone or something like that. You'll never become rich. And if you want to grow that income, you're best taking that survey money and investing it or something like that, or putting it into a high yield savings account. So not going to make you rich, but you can make a buck here and there. And I know plenty of people who have earned like over $500 a month doing Prolific. So Prolific is definitely the best survey site out there. Long story short, I can't work on that site anymore, but I have videos on that too. But it is the best survey out there. And there's plenty of people who, if they are doing surveys like almost full time, as I say, you can make a good chunk of money on Prolific. And Connect is getting up there. It's not as high paying as as Prolific. I shouldn't say it's not as high paying. The rates are as good, but there isn't as many surveys available. But that could change in the future, and maybe people have better demographics than I do, and they're more interesting to get surveys on. Like maybe they have kids, and I don't have that quite yet. So maybe once I have kids, maybe I'll start getting more on Connect as well. So those are the two survey sites that I talked about and I completely agree with. Next up is user testing, which has been fairly new to me. And they give a little paragraph here about what user testing is. And here is the stuff that I say. The pay has been good too. They can be short tests. For instance, he's been paid $10 for test. One thing to keep in mind that I wish was added here, and I don't know if I said it or not, honestly, but $10 for a test that pays, or that takes less than 10 minutes to do, is a pay rate of over $60 an hour. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that you might say, oh, getting paid $10, that doesn't sound like much at all. But considering most of them have taken me 10 minutes or less, that is a highly desirable pay rate to get on an online side hustle. I've been enjoying user testing. It's one of my newest side hustles, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorites. They're fun to do, honestly. And as I can say here, side hustle will be good for people who are comfortable being on camera or talking. Scott said, it never gets stale, and you talk about different stuff every time you get a test. So if you're into mixing it up a little bit, as long as you're comfortable being recorded, then it's definitely fun to do, and I highly recommend it. And I stand by that. I've earned a lot more money since doing this. I think when I interviewed here, I just cracked $80 or $90, and I'm over the $100 mark now. I've been getting like a test or two every day or every other day here. So it's been fun. I love doing user testing, honestly. And, as someone who wouldn't be comfortable with it in the past, I think doing this YouTube channel has kind of opened up and kind of bashed away my social anxiety, and being recorded while taking these type of tasks has not been as scarring as it would have been for me. You just kind of got to get over it and put yourself out there. And once you do, you realize, oh, it's not that scary. So I enjoy user testing. It's one of my favorites to do. And if you get a bunch of screeners that you pass and you're able to take $10 task, and there's stuff that pays $30, $60, $90 for live conversation. So the pay rate is around $60 an hour usually. So it's awesome if you're able to get in, pass the practice test, if you have a decent microphone and you have an okay webcam where you're eligible to do webcam and face recordings and eye tracking stuff. It never gets stale. I'm always mixing it up. It's just been really fun. So let's talk about the last one that they talk about here, the Amazon Influencer Program. So I've talked about the Amazon Influencer Program plenty on this channel, but this does a good job summing it up. I made around $3,800 in 2023 and I started in mid-May. So that was a really good pay rate. I need to focus a lot more on the program. And it says Amazon Influencer Program came about because of my YouTube channel, because you need some kind of social media presence in order to even get in the program. So that is a negative to Amazon Influencer Program. If you have no following, you pretty much have no shot of getting accepted. That's where Join Brands comes in. Watch my video on that. But here we go. Didn't put in a lot of effort. That's very true. And that's just what Amazon themselves says. Here is the last 2 paragraphs of the article. I'll just read them out. What side hustle people end up doing could depend on their goal. Scott suggested surveys or work from data annotation if you're interested in a few extra dollars. But if you want the ultimate goal of scaling, then you need to do something like YouTube where you can make it your own image and your own company almost. Stuff like the Amazon Influencer Program that has passive income streams, Scott said. It just depends what your end goal is, and that's where the article ends. So Madison did a good job. Again, I would like to reiterate the part that got left out the most that I interviewed about was just side hustle stuff that doesn't work, like an Amazon Mechanical Turk and the survey sites that I talked about earlier. What else here? Oh, I did not expect the amount of documentation that I would have to provide for this. So you cannot just be full of crap and get these interviews and get them published. So pretty much anything that I mentioned to Madison through this interview, I had to prove, right? Even something like a polycystic kidney disease, which why would someone make something up about that? But I had to prove it, right? If they want to put it in the article, everything needs to be verified. So I had to show screenshots of every single side hustle that I earned here just to prove that I am making money through these websites, through these platforms. So I had to show the screenshot for the Amazon Influencer Program, for user testing, for Prolific and Connect. I had to show screenshots for data annotation. I had to show YouTube earnings, prove that my subscribers were real, even though they could just look up my channel. I had to prove that I had polycystic kidney disease. I had to prove that my truck was over $60,000 in remaining debt at the time. And I had to prove that I was still in a permanent residence, my house here, and that I owed a mortgage balance there. So I had to show redacted statements of my mortgage. I had to prove that I was 32 years old. I had to prove my last name, and I had to give documentation there. I had to prove that I'm a financial analyst. So I had to show my job offer just with some redacted info. So the amount of documentation I had to provide was crazy, and I was not expecting it. Honestly, it gives me more respect for these reporters because I feel like a lot of articles out there are either just full of crap, people that are full of themselves, have an ego, and they can just type out whatever they want. Or people go to like a Forbes or whatever, and they buy their way into a article. People do that with like stock trading gurus, and like look how this guy turned $10,000 day trading into $1 million or whatever. Those people buy those articles, and it's an advertisement for themselves. I would have no clue that Business Insider would even be interested in interviewing someone like me, a small fish in the YouTube world. They reached out to me. They documented every single little thing. And the process was both a little frustrating when I'm like trying to work and I need to provide more documentation on stuff, but it's also, it gives me more respect for the profession. It makes me realize that, when these articles on Business Insider come out, when people are talking about side hustles and stuff, that they have to prove that they did earn every single penny that they talk about. So if you mention any single number here, like the $60,000 for the truck, you had to prove it. Just like the Amazon Influencer Program, how I earned $3,800 last year. You had to prove it. You had to provide screenshots and prove that it was you and not just like a faked screenshot. So that was my experience with Business Insider. I'm so glad the article got out there. It's crazy that a channel as small as mine has gotten an article, but I'm so appreciative, so thankful for Madison to reaching out for me and giving me the opportunity. Do I think anything is going to come of this? Not really. Maybe I'll get like 5 subscribers on my YouTube channel from it. Honestly, I just wanted to do it because I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, how many opportunities are you really going to get like this in your life, right? I want to get my story out there. I want to say like, look, it's not because I'm just lazy millennial and that's why I want to retire early. No, it's because I've kind of been given my own death sentence and I want to play the hand that I'm dealt as best as I possibly can. Honestly, it's like the 40-hour work week. I mean, with these side hustles, with YouTube and dataannotation.tech and all the survey sites I do, I'm probably working like 55, 60, 65. You know what? I'm not even considering the consulting work I've been doing on the weekends. I'm probably working 60 to 70 hour weeks here. I have no life. I want to get away from the stigma that millennials are lazy. So here I am. I hope I can motivate some of you out there. If you have similar retirement goals before 65, maybe I can offer some inspiration, some motivation, give you some ideas of side hustles that you can do on your free time. That's the whole point of this channel. Document my journey, give you some inspiration, give you some ideas that you can do for yourself if you're following a similar path. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you again to Madison from Business Insider from featuring me and writing me and interviewing me. It's been a fun process. Glad that it's over with so I don't have to provide any more documentation. If you've come here from the Business Insider article, welcome to the channel. Subscribe, follow the journey. I do videos every single night, a little YouTube short to just prove every single penny that I'm earning. So if I earn $10 today from user testing, you will see a screenshot of me earning that $10. So I'm not full of crap. Authenticity is 100% with this channel. So hope you enjoy it. See everyone in the next video.